105.9 Academy FM.
The sound of Folkestone.
Yeah, Jake Bug and Taste It. So, James, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, we're talking about hemochromatosis, which is a genetic problem. Did your parents realise that they possibly suffered from it?
Not at all, no. Unfortunately, both my parents died together a long time ago, in the mid-70s, and long before this was known.
And how did you realise that you had this problem?
Through nosebleeds. It was my wife, actually. All my life I'd had nosebleeds and never really taken much notice of it. But my wife said to me, "This is not right, and get yourself down to docs." And the GP there did a blood test, and a very vigilant GP came back with this enzyme that shouldn't have been there, that led them down the track to diagnose hemochromatosis.
Really? And the blood, the nosebleeds, they weren't, sort of, you knocked your nose or you were sneezing or anything like that?
It would bleed at the easiest. No, it didn't take much persuasion, and it was just much too frequent. I just remember as a child having them, but I just thought that was part of childhood.
Yes.
But they continued into adulthood, and I had one dramatic occasion in Grimsby, near Hull of all places, where at lunchtime I had this horrendous nosebleed, and I was down an alley with my nose bleeding everywhere, and people thought I'd been in some sort of fight. But I had to get it cauterized to stop it.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And not many people would understand that they possibly had anything like this. Well,
this is the problem. It's estimated that 1 person in 8 is a carrier of this defective gene. Mm-hmm. It takes two parents with 2 defective genes to produce a child that's likely to develop the condition. And it's a slow burner. It's very insidious. It takes maybe 30 to 40 years before you start realising that there's something wrong.
Really? And so apart from nosebleeds, what other symptoms might people have?
The early symptoms are very non-specific. Feeling tired or chronic fatigue, abdominal pain in the stomach, a bit of malaise where people are sort of foggy in the brain, a bit of sort of impaired memory, mood swings, irritability, depression, hair loss, low sex drive. I mean, none of them sort of point to anything. They could be symptoms for just about anything, really.
Yeah. I was listening to that list. I mean, most of us at some point probably suffer mild problems like that. As a norm, really.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't get picked up, because doctor's point of view, it's not easy to have a profile of somebody who has this defective gene because it is so widespread. It's only when it starts developing complications, and even then they don't pick it up because major organs start getting affected by stored iron, and they start failing, and so they're looking to treat the liver or the pancreas or the heart, and they're not thinking about the underlying cause.
Gosh, and when did you first? What was your age when you found out about this?
I was 52.
Really?
Yeah.
And has there been much damage, do you think, already?
Well, the ferritin level that I have when I was diagnosed was around 1,300, which is high. Your standard level should be about 50, so it's very high. Fortunately, I'd been a blood donor all my life, and unbeknownst to me, I was treating myself, and I didn't know I was doing it. If I hadn't been a blood donor, it would have been closer to 4,000. My ferritin level, and then there would have been irreparable damage to major organs. But because it was caught in time, if you like, I've now been treated and on maintenance. They tell me that I'm quite normal.
Right, but that's odd, isn't it? Because I give blood periodically. That's 4 times a year, I think, for a male now, and they test your blood before for iron.
They do, but they're looking to see if you're anemic rather than if you've got too much.
Right. And by donating a pint every so often, that reduces the...
Well, you're treating yourself, yeah.
Yeah. How interesting. Next time I go and give a pint, I shall ask them about that. But if, like you say, if you weren't a blood donor, what would be the consequences by now at your age?
Well, you start, initially the liver starts to fail. it gets full of iron, and it gets enlarged, and if you're very unlucky, you get cirrhosis of the liver. It affects the pancreas, and you become insulin resistant, and you get late onset type 2 diabetes. You get heart arrhythmic problems. You get build up in the joints, particularly the first two knuckles and the ankles. You get loss of libido. It affects the pituitary gland and the thyroid gland, and so you can get testosterone is not being produced, and so you get a loss of libido, as I say, and it just generally goes downhill from there.
Good grief!
It starts affecting the brain.
Well, at least you've worked it all out. Curing yourself and going to the doctor. But more interesting as well is that you've written a book, but not a sort of non-fiction book about it, but a fiction book.
Yeah, the idea is that I want to try and raise awareness to the condition. Ideally, it would be great to have a national screening campaign. I believe prevention is better than cure, and it can be picked up when people are 20 or 30, and there's no reason for it to be a problem.
How
I find that humour is the best way to get people, from my point of view, humour is the best way to get people's attention.
Right. So now, how did you come up with the storyline?
Well, main character it's known locally as iron overload, and my main character has got so much iron that he's become magnetic.
Ah, right.
And all sorts of things happen to you when you become magnetic, and in particular, it's considered to have paranormal skills, and the KGB, I don't know if you're aware, but they're heavily into paranormal phenomena, and have been since the time of Rasputin, and they found out about him and try to pursue him so they can experiment on him, but the CIA are keen to stop him, and just a farce that goes on from there.
Oh, how fascinating. And the book's already been published, has it?
It's on Amazon, yeah.
Yeah.
Both as a book and
how's it going?
Paperback.
How's it going?
And not so bad, yes. 100 copies have gone. It's been 3 weeks now. And, of course, promoting the book helps to get the sales, but from the sales, I'm using the profits to go into the Hemochromatosis Society to help with their education and research programs.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, good for you. What do you do as your normal job, then?
I'm in IT. I mend people's PCs.
Oh, very good. Oh, well, that's very, very
quite different. Yeah.
Very handy these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is it on Kindle as well?
It's on the Kindle, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, give us details. The book's title is called The Unexpected Consequences of Iron Overload.
That's it.
Which does not sound like a medical book in the slightest, because it's not really a medical book, but it's
not a medical book. In the preface, I do actually give a little resume of the cause and the condition, just to help with the education process. But the main story is just a spoof thriller, and as I say, humour is a great medicine, and I just hope people will enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well done. And presumably you just go to Amazon and you can buy it, or any bookshop as well?
Yep. Well, Amazon at the moment, I'm waiting for the distribution to fall out. It takes quite a long time to get your books into all the channels, but Amazon have got it up there, both as a paperback and, to say, as a Kindle book.
Yeah. And for more information about the condition, presumably there's a society, is there?
Yes. It's got our web address. It's hemochromatosis.org.uk.
Oh, simple as that. Okay.
Yeah.
And after the next record, I'll spell out hemochromatosis, which I had difficulty with.
Yes, unfortunately, it's spelled differently depending whether you're in the States or in the UK. And so we spell it with an A, H-A-E, opposed to the Americans who miss out the first A.
Ah, right. Ah, okay. Smashing. Well, James, thank you very much indeed for that. And it's a sort of wake-up call, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With David Cameron being into preventative medicines, hopefully he might hear some of this at some point and get the screening campaign going.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All the best now. Cheers.
Bye.
105.9 Academy FM.
Folkestone's radio station.